Hey guys, welcome back. And today we're taking a look at the Cerebrum by Kratos. Now, this is a piece that you guys have already seen on my Instagram and Facebook for those of you that follow me on those. If not, make sure you check those out. Links will be in the video description. But before we jump into the review, I wanted to give you some background on the company, right? Because when we're talking about some of these micro brands and designs, inspiration matters. Now, the founder of the Kratos watch company is Dodi, and Dodi is not only just as obsessed with watches as the rest of us, but he is very big on family. Now, about 2 years ago, Dodi's brother had a horrible car accident that caused some traumatic brain injury. And over the last 2 years, he has superseded all the expectations of his doctors. He's come out of a coma and he's even speaking again, things that most of us take for granted. So it stands to reason that when Dodi thought about starting a watch company, he found inspiration in that company from his brother. So let's go over first the name of the company. The company is named Kratos. Now, Kratos is the personification of strength, and I think that's something that amply represents Dodi's brother. So that's where you got the name and the inspiration, a name that represented the strength that his brother has showed through the entire ordeal. Then we go specifically to the name of the first piece for his brand. Now, this is a piece that has very purposeful design. Everything was very well thought out. So when I look at a piece like Cerebrum, the backstory is something that I find particularly fascinating, especially for micro brands. Now, so many micro brands often get their start as making an homage piece of something to get their name out there. That's not what he's done here. He came out with something that he has purposely built with his design and inspiration in mind. So when we take a look at this piece, the Cerebrum, the wave patterns on the dial very much mimic the patterns that you think of when you think of our brain and the curves that are found in one of our body's most important organs, which also represents the injury that his brother sustained over 2 years ago. Then we take a look at the material that he used to put this watch together, bronze. Now, bronze is a tough and old school material that is perfect for representing a tough older brother. All right, so now that we've got the backstory for not only the name of the company, but the name of the specific model that we're looking at, it's time to take a closer look at Kratos' Cerebrum. That's coming up right after this. The first thing you notice on this piece is that it's not stainless steel. Now, the bronze case has a commanding design in its complex octagonal shape. The case has several levels that start with the seamless transition from the domed sapphire to the round bezel area. Now from there you step down to the octagonal platform that leads down to the meat of the case that shares the same shape. Now all the design edges are clearly transitioned without being sharp. You will notice that the case back is screw down and stainless steel with the model information and the Cerebrum waves we see on the dial that you'll soon see on the crown as well. Now, taking a closer look at the dial, you find the wave patterns in line with its inspiration. The brand and model information is neatly and cleanly printed onto the dial, and the company logo is beautifully overlapped by the seconds hand circular counterbalance as it sweeps by. Now, intentional or not, it's a detail that I enjoyed. The date is unobtrusively placed at 4:30 and nicely framed with the same bronze color that frames the teeth-like hour markers that point towards the sword, minute, and hour hands. Now, the seconds hand has a diamond tip that stays in line with the entire design. As expected, in the dark, you keep all your legibility, and the date positioned where it is keeps the layout of the dial clean and unbroken in the dark. Now, moving on to the crown, you'll notice it's offset for increased comfort, and it is a screw-down crown as you would expect from a piece with 300 meters of water resistance. The crown is signed with the same logo you find on the dial, and is decorated with the same wave pattern you find on the dial. Now, I will say that having the wave pattern a bit more deeply engraved into the crown would help with ease of crown manipulation. It wasn't difficult to unscrew and screw back in, but it wasn't as easy as it could have been either. Now, the band on the Cerebrum is one of the most comfortable bands I've ever worn. I'll point out right off the bat that even though you can remove it, the lug designs have a width of 17 millimeters, which makes this pretty much an integrated bracelet for practical purposes. Now, having said that, its design is part of what makes the damn thing so comfortable. Most integrated non-metal bracelets tend to want to flare outward, as you see here when I compare it to the band on my JLC. The end result of this design consideration is comfort and how much more flush the piece can hug your wrist when you have it on. Now, with an integrated band like this one that goes down rather than flare out, the whole piece and band hug your wrist much better and more comfortably than others that flare out. Now, you can see the side-by-side comparison here where the Cerebrum sits just a little more flush than my JLC does because it has a little more flare out. Now, the buckle on this band is stainless steel, and I know the concern is for skin sensitivity regarding the bronze, but I'm not sure how I feel about the mismatch. Now, I will also point out that the only shortcoming I see on this band is that the buckle pin sits in a spot that's a bit too wide, and it should be thinned out just a little more to more closely match the width of the pin. Now, I know that's picky, but I did notice it. Now, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about this piece based on pictures, but as happens so often in the metal, this piece is incredibly satisfying and I loved wearing it. Now, if you aren't big on gold tone watches, which I'm not, the bronze case gives you an almost in-between alternative that can really tick some boxes for you. Also, even though it's a 42mm case, the lug-to-lug width, which I measured at 48.5, means it was super comfortable to wear even on my 6.5-inch wrist. And this was one of the few pieces I've reviewed that I didn't take off the entire week that I had it. Now, these pieces will be available on Kickstarter sometime in mid-October, and they're going to be available to the first 50 backers for $499. Stainless steel versions are also planned in the future. The model we're looking at here can be had with or without the date, and there are several color options on the dial which include black, white, brown, and green. Now, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this piece. It's a little bit unconventional, and I gotta tell you, that's part of what I like about this piece and micro brands in general. They take you somewhere that more established brands are maybe just a little bit too scared to go. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and as always, if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. That's it for this one. CG, out.